Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the Daily Quest Cat Calm Down, episode number 42. My name is Solid Jake, and today we're talking about Li-Ming in the PTR as a whole. Mainly Li-Ming. That's really the actual topic for today. We'll be talking about the PTR throughout the day, but whoa, that's buggy. That's a little bit weird. Anyways, PTR just went back up. It is live. We are logged in, and we're going to be just kind of breaking down Li-Ming as a hero. And is she viable, right? This is the question we ask every time a new hero is released. Now, she's still in the PTR, so this isn't necessarily the state that she'll be launched in, but we're gonna give some comparisons to Jaina, Kael'thas, the other big mages that we look at that are very prominent in the meta and have been ever since they both came out, and see how Li-Ming stands up. But before we get all there, I do have a bit of a story. A triumphant victory was had yesterday. Now, if you guys didn't know, I traveled to California like a dozen times last year to cast Heroes events, and I always go to Southern California. Well, back in August, it was, I had been there for Heroes of the Dorm, where I worked production, and then June and July for the North America Open finals, the top 8s of the North America Opens. And August was the third one, and Blizzard was getting ready to sign on their talent, sign on their casters and production and everything for Vegas, and they wanted to do one big session with everyone, because everyone that is on the casting side of things for Heroes is still pretty green. We're all still pretty young when it boils down to it. So they did an extended stay where they brought us all out. They flew Babel, Gilly, myself, Kubi, Zoya, Mia were there for observers, you name it. They flew us all out, and they had us come stay down in Irvine, down near the Blizzard headquarters for several days. And they needed somebody that was able to transport all the talent back and forth. So they're like, all right, well, rather than pay for Ubers, which it's an hour and a half driving, which would cost several $100s, let us just rent a vehicle. That way they can get back and forth from their hotel, and they can do it with that. So, me thinking I'm a responsible person, says, all right, yeah, I'll do it. So I go, I pick up my car, I get a big ass van, and, we have a good time. We drive around, we go, we can go out and do whatever we want when we're done at Blizzard each day. And then at the end of our stay at Blizzard, we drove up to Burbank, California, where ESL is, and we all spent the rest of our time there. But after we got to Burbank, returned the vehicle. Now, I rented this vehicle from Avis, and Avis is just a car rental company. And I returned it to the place in Burbank, and it was kind of a shady place, honestly. Like, just a little tiny parking lot that fits like 3 or 4 cars. It seemed like absolutely desolate, but whatever. Returned my car. The guy checked it out, and the cam makes it look like I'm slouching. Yeah, it's just at a high angle. It's just weird, but I probably am slouching. Anyways, all of this happens, and the car's returned. No problems. Fast forward 5 months, I get a notice in the mail saying that I owe $712 for damages done to the vehicle. And I'm just like, all right, something has to be wrong here, right? This can't be right. I mean, I returned that vehicle 5 months ago. There were no issues with it. There was never an issue with the vehicle. Why would they be claiming there's $700 in damage? So I call, and they're like, oh yeah, there was tire damage. First of all, tire damage on a vehicle for $700 would imply that I actually ran over spikes and popped all 4 tires. Like, that is actually insane. So I'm like, this is just weird. I'd like to submit a claim that this is incorrect. And they're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. This, that sounds reasonable. This does seem a little bit odd. And they submit a claim. They're like, we'll get back to you in 3 to 4 days. Well, 3 to 4 days pass. And a month passes, and they come back and they tell me a completely different story, that my windshield was shattered on the vehicle now. The tires are fine. No, the tires are great. But apparently a windshield was shattered. I don't remember shattering any windshields. So after many, many, many long calls with that company and climbing up through their chain of command and talking to them, I finally got to a manager who literally sat down. She put me on hold, and she read through all the paperwork. And she pretty much just came to the conclusion, like, finally an intelligent person that's just like, yeah, this is like the weirdest thing ever. Like, none of this seems legitimate. There's too many holes. Like, these claims just seem like they're trying to gouge you. So the company that was the actual branch in Burbank got a citation. They actually are getting, they're in trouble. I don't know what that means, but it's going to be marks against them to some extent. And they're refunding all of that money, $712. And I have won Yes. So after being stressed out like all hell, because I cannot afford to pay $700 for random fraudulent charges, I am victorious. So thank you, Manager Lady at Avis. Bam, story time complete. And now we're gonna talk about Li-Ming, the newest hero here in Heroes of the Storm. Of course, she is live on the PTR, and she is absolutely 100% fabulous. Oh, look at her. She wiggles her booty when she dances. I'll have to show you guys that in a bit. I did drop all this fat cash to buy the skin bundle that they have for her, where you get this. Listen to that sound. Let's tune it up. Oh, it makes the best sounds. I don't know. This Sailor Moon skin just, it makes me way too happy. It really does. Satisfies everyone. Let's go that far, and we'll end there. Really fun hero. She's got a phenomenal kit. She's probably the most magey of the mages, and that's weird to say, but really her autos are really weak. She doesn't have much health whatsoever, but when it comes to her spells, they're absolutely devastating, and her trait allows her to cast them in like a very large frequency. Critical mass, that's trait, every time you kill an enemy hero, resets all your cooldowns, so she becomes really snowbally when it comes to just damage output. We've got arc magic missiles. You know, when you think about the mages, Jaina, she's got Frostbolt. This is just good single target, long range, explosive area of effect. There's a really strong power potential. There's ways to respond to this. Somebody can run forward to take the blast and prevent it from hitting multiple targets, or if you can catch them off guard, you can throw this through the wall and then just do massive damage. And it's great for poking at the objectives when you just think about like trying to channel a tribute and altar. These arcane orbs can come from quite a far distance and really ruin your day. The big difference with Li-Ming, though, is just she's got mobility, whereas Jaina and Kael'thas, they're more like they have a little bit of control. Li-Ming doesn't have so much control. She rather has mobility herself, and she has these little baby teleports. So they're very short. It's less distance than an actual vault that Vala has or Tumble. And, you know, just gives her a lot of just flexibility. She can also use this over walls. Very short distance, but if she gets collapsed on by something like an Entomb, that's something that Kael'thas would be, really vulnerable to. She can just pop over the other side with teleport and just laugh at that Leoric and just start unloading on him. For heroics, she's got, Disintegrate. It's just huge beam of damage. Doesn't do a lot of damage to a single target, but it pierces and it hits everything in a beam for 2.5 seconds. This can be interrupted by stuns, but it's a 20-second cooldown. And again, resets with critical mass. For Wave of Force, that's just, this is a knockback. So this gives her a little bit of control. So this is the first time she gets any real control, unless you spec into Essence of Johanna? I call Essence of Johanna. Essence of Johan. S of Johan, whatever. This is a pull into the center, kind of like a mini condemn on the end of your blast. You need to stop talking, Li-Ming. You just shh. Really good for just setting up your magic missiles, because if you throw this out and follow the magic missiles, it's going to kind of hold them in place and to like pull them back into the center of that. And it's just very good for setting up those combos. But at the end of the day, she's not exactly just she feels way different than Kael'thas and Jaina, but she feels really good. She definitely 100%. Her state right now is competitively viable. She will be a very strong assassin. Her talents, her build diversity is all phenomenal. She has just like all these options here, like power hungry. This is so good. Like 20% or 10% ability power for 20 seconds when you grab a regen globe. What? And you get additional mana? What? This is so cool. Like she just benefits from regen globes in a different way that no hero ever has. As for presence, while you're half mana, she just gets double mana regeneration. You don't need to worry about collecting globes. She just has all this extra mana retention while she's low on mana. And when you're spamming those abilities, especially as you're starting to get the critical mass resets on all your abilities, this is really going to kick into overdrive and help her to continue throwing out all those abilities. Really quite good. Force armor. You want some sustain. You want to be that anti-mage. You want to be able to brawl Jaina straight up. Well, this is going to help a lot because it gives you spell block, and you can have up to 4 charges of spell block from magic missiles. Really cool, just early game sustain. And then last but not least, this is just kind of flexibility. If you haven't taken damage in the last 5 seconds, teleport costs no mana, and its cooldown's reduced by 2 seconds. So every 3 seconds, you can flop around like a little beautiful wizard if you're not being attacked, and this just gives her a ton of flexibility. Sounds Probably like the least common talent we'll see, but definitely fun. Definitely a cool option, and it can't hurt to have it there regardless. Now, when it comes to level 4, we've got the Charge Blast. Yes, this is going to make it so that magic missiles do extra damage from your basic attacks. Gives her just a little bit more or focus. This would be like, if you're going for a full auto attack style, maybe this would be the best option probably at this point in time. I would say that is accurate. S of Joe, this is what I generally go with. Just it's displacement. It holds people in place if they're trying to run behind their wall, and your orb comes flying out and it pulls them a little bit back. Sometimes I can pick up the kills. Also, like I said, it leaves them, easy to hit with your magic missiles locked in place. Triumvirate reduces the arcane orb cooldown at max range. Yeah, if you hit an enemy at max range, you reduce the cooldown by 7 seconds. This just becomes like spam bot, right? So she can start spamming those orbs, and this could be very powerful if we did see orb talents or orb builds become a thing. Last but not least, we have dominance. Like we already talked about her being kind of snowbally when it comes to getting the reset, but a quarter of her health returned from picking up kills. Like she's basically Illidan but a mage, just like she's all about snowballing the fights. And if you go talents like this, I mean, that's what she turns into. She's just gonna blow things up, heal up, reset all her cooldowns, blow up another target, and then just so on and so forth. Very, very snowbally, and it's gonna take a lot of control, and she is very much squishy, but definitely some cool potential that exists there. We got teleport damage. If you want to be super ham, does 300 damage as you teleport to a location, so that's offensive teleports. That's full ham sandwich, but that's an option. More damage from afar here in Arcane Orb, again orb builds, and then you have additional damage from the third missile. So basically, if you hit all 3 of your arcane missiles, the third one will do bonus damage. Again, single target focus. We're seeing range W AOE builds, and we're seeing single target builds, and then we're just seeing ham sandwich builds. Okay, heroics, again, they're both really good. This is like really, really good for if you think of maps where there might be a situation where you're on Cursed Hollow and there's a lot of people funneling down a small passageway trying to get to that tribute. This is actually just really powerful for doing a ton of AoE damage and shredding through their health bars. Wave of Force, though, provides a ton of control. It gives her an escape option. She doesn't have Gravity Lap. She doesn't have the slows that Jaina has. Like, Numbing Blast is nice, but just inherently Jaina has a lot of slows and control. She does have mobility. So this might be what she needs to get that Illidan or Zeratul offer if her blink isn't enough, right? It's just another great thing to have, and it can really displace the enemy team, setting your team up to try to blow up 1 or 2 targets with other heroics. So it's just they're both great options. Honestly, I like both of the heroics a lot. Level 13 Glass Cannon. This is just full on ham. Like again, 15% ability power, sacrifice for 15% health permanently. So this is if you're feeling super confident, that you're going to be safe enough to be able to just dish out all of that damage. That's 15% more damage dealt, but you become much more squish, and she already has less health than most of the other assassins in the game. Cannoneer abilities empower your basic attacks. So whenever you use an ability, increase your next basic attack by 75%. This is just kind of more that auto attack or like more that single target blow them up style. You can have up to 3 stacks of that. So this is very good for just bursting out a target. And Illusionist, this is just, you get additional range by 50%. And if you lose more than 15% of your health at once, its cooldown is instantly refreshed. So if you are really worried about being dove upon, you're really worried about those big melee assassins that close the gap, that chunk you, Thrall, you name it. Even just a big ranged attack, a Globe of Annihilation hitting you, and you need to just blink away from another skill shot. Illusionist is just so very valuable for getting that second clip on out of there to get on home. Level 16, Fireflies, magic missiles move faster, lower cooldown. Pretty darn good. I mean, drastically increase the speed, and then you lower the cooldown. Or we have the magic missiles fires 2 additional missiles. So now you have 5 of them going out in a massive arc. If all 5 hit that one target, it is going to hurt tremendously. We have the increased range here on the orb. This is really just good for poking. I played with an orb build yesterday in Battlefield of Eternity where I picked this up, and I was able to throw the orbs from so ridiculously far, and it was hilarious to like just pick up kills off the screen. I was like fighting our immortal and then stepping away just a little bit and just throwing a max range orb and doing ridiculous damage to their team because they weren't respecting the threat of that orb coming from afar. So this just makes her a very long range, big threat, and plays can be made. Like, I'm thinking of the Dream where we have Earthquake going in. Yes, I'm claiming Earthquake Thrall could be a thing. And then this big arcane orb comes throughout the wall, that max range, hits everything, does a ton of damage, precision strike rains down, the whole team is dead. Oh, that's a dream, right? But I don't know if that'll ever happen. We can dream. Diamond Skin, you get a little bit of a shield, 25% of your max health for a shield for 4 seconds. So again, she's got great sustain options, great options to stay alive, but you do need to sacrifice a lot of damage to pick those up. So this is when you're really worried about surviving. But you think about heroes like Jaina and Kael'thas, they're usually spending at least 1 talent for that as well. So just one of these usually will end up being enough, I would assume. We have Arcane Barrier for Kael'thas, and Jaina, she goes for Ice Block. And it's very common to see those 2 talents picked up. They sacrifice damage to get those talents. Like, you're sacrificing Icy Veins to go for Ice Block on Jaina. It's not that, it's not too different to go for Illusionist versus Glass Cannon. This is when you're really feeling like you can go ham, like Icy Veins, or Illusionist instead of Ice Block. So pretty awesome. In level 20, she has some really, really cool talents. She's got this 60% slow on her Disintegrate. So it's 2.5 seconds, big beam with a ridiculously long range that hits everything and slows it by 60%. This is Repulsion and gives you an additional knockback and cast range on your Wave Blast, whatever it's called. Wave of Force, close enough. Tal Rasha's Elements, probably going to be one of the more go-to. Your ability power is increased by 20% as long as you don't cast the same spell twice in a row. So if you're cycling between your abilities, they do 20% more damage. Pretty awesome. And then last but not least, we have Archon Form. You can press 1 to activate Archon Form. All of your abilities are disengaged, but you become an Archon permanently. You move around. I think your movement speed might be slowed. It doesn't say that here. I might be making that up. But you can't cast your Q, your W, or your E. But you can infinitely channel a laser beam. And I went behind a wall and I channeled my laser on the Immortal on Battlefield of Eternity and AFK'd for a little bit. It was pretty fun. It's pretty fun to be able to do that. It was just kind of a silly thing to test out, and it just lasts forever. Of course, you're quite vulnerable, and there is a bit of a disengage from Archon Form. You can't just immediately deactivate Archon Form and just blink away. You have to be prepared for the enemies en route and really just kind of get ready to disengage. So overall, Li-Ming, she's a little bit less safe than Kael'thas. Well, all right, let's just actually do a full-on comparison rather than me just try to explain it. Let's look at this graphic that I didn't update. Yes, production. I can do this. Hold on. I made a graphic. I swear to you. We're getting there. Oh, yeah. Look at this. So this is some of the base stats of the 3. We're comparing a lot to Jaina and Kael'thas. They're all ranged assassins, and they're all mages at the end of the day. And the biggest difference with Li-Ming versus Kael'thas and Jaina is that she offers less control while she has more mobility. And I think that's probably the first and best thing to say. When it comes to single target damage, she probably has the most potential for blow up, just as like a single target blow up out of all 3 of the heroes. Although the Icy Veins Frostbolt build on Jaina can be very good, I don't think it necessarily has the same kind of potential as Li-Ming for single target. Kael'thas probably the worst when it comes to single target in general. When it comes to area of effect, she is very much on par with both Kael'thas and Jaina. Not quite chain bomb level that Kael'thas has. I would say he definitely... Why no bolt on Jaina? I guess I forgot to put it there. I'm sorry, man. But when it comes down to AoE, yeah, it's not quite chain bomb levels, but it definitely is up there. She has huge AoE potential with both her orb and, of course, with Disintegrate, and her cooldowns are really low. Survivability, she's more about mobility. She doesn't have much shielding necessarily. She does get some talents at 13 and 16 for teleport that will help her stay alive. I'm sorry about the graphics not being centered. But it's overall, she does have the mobility. 5-second cooldown for the teleport to really just separate yourself from your opponents. She doesn't have gravity laps for the lockdown like Kael'thas has. She doesn't have the slows and the ice blocks and the frost armor that Jaina has, but she can just get out of harm's way. So at the end of the day, Li-Ming is probably going to have a much higher skill ceiling than Kael'thas and Jaina. Probably will see less success than those other two heroes on average, just because, again, you need to be a better player to execute this hero to her max potential. But she certainly has insanely strong potential if she's able to snowball. I mean, the fact that she has her trait, Critical Mass, that resets all of her cooldowns, you can imagine how much damage she can dish out. Like Kael'thas, sure, he can throw 2 chain bombs, but she could just continuously use Disintegrate followed by Orb, if she's killing targets left and right, and that becomes overwhelming for almost any support in the game if you can't stop her. So she has some really, really crazy high potential. Last but not least, I mean, she does suffer in control. This is where, I mean, we mentioned this, but this is the last thing on the menu here. And control is really something that she lacks. Now, Wave of Force, it does offer a bit of control. Sure, you can get the 60% slow and critical mass at the end of the day, and you can go for S of Johan at level 4, which gives you that little bit of pull-in, which can interrupt some channels for your orb, but it's not necessarily the same kind of effect as, say, a Gravity Lapse or 30% slow and everything, or even Numbing Blast at level 16 for Jaina. So that's really kind of where she lacks. She's really just raw power. I mean, it literally labels her as a high-octane mobile spellcaster that is very fragile, and that's the best description you can ever give for her, because she is just crazy damage potential. She has a lot of mobility, so she's going to be hard to lock down, but in the event that she does get locked down, she is in a very bad spot. Now look at just the base numbers there. You can compare the HP of these 3 heroes. Like Kael'thas, he's at the top. He's got 1465. Jaina has 100 less health than Kael'thas, but Li-Ming is actually over 200 less base health than Kael'thas. I mean, that's a sizable difference when it comes to level 1. HP regen also significantly lower. Mana even across the board for them, and then you can see her autos are definitely weaker as well. So Kael'thas, he hits pretty hard, Jaina hits pretty hard. Li-Ming, her autos really aren't all that much. She's a true glass cannon. She is all about these big spells that do a ton of damage, and trust me, she hurts. She has the single target build, she has the AoE build, and she has the mobility and survivability options that are available. So she's definitely going to be a popular hero for competitive Heroes of the Storm. It's just a matter of, well, how she fares in certain matchups. Now, let's talk about certain weaknesses that could exist for this hero as a whole, right? We're talking about the game being in a stun meta, and that means that, she's got to be very aware at all times of any potential stun that could be coming around the corner. If that Diablo is coming, she can quickly just teleport to safety and be a-okay. If she sees Thrall coming, she can just juke the root and then just teleport to the side. That's great. But you think about certain stuns that cannot be stopped. Ruthless Onslaught on Butcher. This could set up huge wombos that kill her. So maybe if we see Li-Ming, suddenly Butcher's a counter. Butcher, he's still not a very common hero to see, but it's still something that exists on the table. A little bit more prominent of a threat for her that could come back into the meta is Judgment on Tyrael. I mean, it might seem like a lot to just Judgment in to blow up Li-Ming, but if you know that she can't blink out of that, or if you have the stun follow-ups, it's lights out for it. Also, Thrall seems like a pretty good pick against her in general too, just because Sundering is pretty hard to juke when it boils down to it. Travels very quickly, it can be used out of your vision, and if you're not ready, it just could spell disaster. So there's definitely a lot of things that are going to be very scary for Li-Ming that they have to be aware of, but she's going to be that hero that flanks. She's going to be that hero that hides in the back line. And when you think of players like K1 Pro that excel in flanking with Jaina and just going in, doing a ton of damage, she's going to have insane potential for that style of play. Very long range, very just blow you up. And when it comes to just laning in general, I think she'll probably be pretty strong. Not as safe as a pick as someone like Kael'thas that can quickly throw Gravity Laps up, or Jaina who can just slow all their targets. But who knows? Teleport definitely has a lot of potential, and it is a very short cooldown. the end of the day, she has not been out for even 24 hours at this point in time, even on the PTR, and we don't know exactly how she is going to feel when they do officially release it. Oh, that's the wrong button. Apologies for that. That actually scared the crap out of me. So we don't really know exactly if she'll launch with these exact stats. I mean, I hope she does because she feels phenomenal to me. I haven't had a lot of time to actually sit down and talk with a lot of pro players that are going to have a stronger opinion of in terms of how to build her and like the optimal ways to play her. But you can already just theory crafting with all the variety of talents that she has. There's definitely like some great potential for both single target and AoE target damage. Sorry about that hypa again, guys. Anyways, so really when it boils down to it, I think I said when it boils down to it like 5 times. I'm not going to make any bold assessments as to the appropriate style quite yet. I'm just very excited for the future of Li-Ming. I'm actually going to hop on stream in just a moment and play some Li-Ming and really just kind of toy around with a variety of her talents because I haven't tried everything out quite yet. Very excited for the future of this hero. I will be making further daily quests, really just kind of following the progress of what people are figuring out, what works the best, where she stands in terms of the tier list compared to a lot of the other top assassins. I personally think she is going to really finally be one of these assassins that's viable. We don't see Greymane used. We don't see Lunara used. We don't see Cho'Gall used. We don't see a lot of the new heroes used. Medic finally starting to see some play. Now, they made changes to Lunara. They made changes to Greymane, and they're definitely in a better place. So they might be rising back in. But this game needs assassins. It needs new, fresh assassins. And Li-Ming is exactly what the doctor ordered. As always, guys, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please follow the Twitch channel. And you can use my G2A code SJAKE to save 3% on your purchase, but more so to support me and maybe open up some doors for the future. Very much appreciate all of you guys, your support, and for tuning in to this episode. Stream will continue in just a moment. Stay tuned.